I am back with Christina Diane, who just read a very fun sample from The Earl and the Vixen. What's the name of this series?
The Unlikely Betrothal Series.
And so you mentioned at the top, the whole concept of this series is that
Mm.
it's all taking place at the same house party.
Yes.
So each book is at the same time as the other books.
Yes. Like they kind of stagger, like maybe by a couple days, but they kind of, each book can be completely read by itself and you can get the full couple story and it's like really fantastic. But the other characters are like background and kind of side characters. And so if you read all of them, you really get a full picture of like what was going on at the house party, which I think is kind of fun.
That's such a cool concept. Tell me about how you came up with it.
I always just love Regency house parties. And it just feels like, and and as we all know, they're known for betrothals, and you have all these like opportunities to have these little hidden secret moments and stuff. And so I was like, why waste that setup on just one couple? Like we could totally just have this like concept of you've got multiple couples, and then I was playing on the vibe of none of them are coming here for that. None of them, and they all have their different reasons why this is, you know, not at all what they would expect to have happen to them at the house party.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just got really compelled with this idea of like seeing if I could make that work and if I could make that compelling and navigate the like challenges of like creating that kind of story.
Yeah, so how much did you know before you started writing about the house party and who was there and who the couples were going to be?
So I knew the hosts. So our hosts of this house party are actually a couple that's in another series of mine that is not out yet because it's being published by Dragon Blade.
Okay.
And so I loved that couple. And so my first thing was like, oh, I need them. They're just such a fiery couple. I was like, they're going to be my hosts for this house party. So that was like the first thing I did. And then I started figuring out, okay, who are the players that I want here and what kind of different personalities and vibes do I want at this house party? And then because I need my spirited heroines, and then I've got my bookish gal who's like very much into like maths and books, and then I've got of course I have a, unruly widow that's at this house party. You got to have
Of
one of
course.
those. And so I was like, who do I want this cast of characters to be? And then I started filling in the gaps of like either like who they needed as a who I think they needed to like heal them or complete them or pairing certain personalities together is like that was the first thing I did actually was I planned the high level story arcs for all five couples
Okay.
and who the players were going to be. And then I started writing this first book, The Earl and the Vixen. And I did write them in the order that I'm going to release them in.
And you said you've written them all before you started releasing, right?
I did, yes. I wrote all
That was
five of them
smart.
because there was
So,
so much editing that had to happen.
well, yeah, I'm just thinking I've written two books that are very house setting centric, where like it
Hmm.
matters who's in what room. And I
Hmm.
had to build actual like layouts of the houses for myself to understand. So, like, how particular and how did you do that? How did you organize that sort of thing?
I love that you asked that. I use a Miro board. I don't know how everyone else keeps track of because I know there's different tools out there. I have all of my world in like a Miro board canvas so that I can draw lines to different characters and who's ever interacted with each other, especially as I want to keep building in this world with different series and whatnot. And so I took a similar approach with like the house too, of like, okay, let's kind of draw it out here. And then I have a timeline that I used of like, okay, here's the days of the house party, and here's like the story arc that's kind of happening on each day in each book so that I can remember
Yeah.
where people need to be at different times, especially as I got
Yeah.
in the later books writing, because it got way more complicated by the time you got to like book 4 or 5 to go, oh man, where do I have everybody? Because I just got this great idea for how I want to take this arc. And it's like, oh, I got to go back and like make sure that I had them where I needed them like throughout until they get to like day 4 or whatever.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, what is a Miro board?
It's just like an online tool called Miro, Miro. And
Okay.
so I just have a free account with them. And it's basically like a big canvas with like sticky notes and you can draw lines. And so I have sticky notes for each of my characters and I have a text box with all of their physical details, some of their like background, who their parents are. And I even put their parents in there. And so I have like my web of my people. And then like you can draw like timelines and there's like different tools in there that you can do
That's
stuff like
cool.
that.
It sounds
And so
like a virtual murder board.
Yeah, kinda. It's exactly what it is. And like you can ha totally have like your red string like going around to different places. Like it's totally how mine's set up. Looks like one of those.
I love that.